The UK is famous for its haunted cities like London and Edinburgh, but it's not just the big places that have spooky stories. Many small towns across the country are also known for being haunted. These towns may look quiet and peaceful, but they have a dark and mysterious side. Old buildings, creepy forests, and ancient graveyards in these towns are said to be full of ghosts and strange happenings. From ghostly figures to unexplained sounds, these haunted towns attract ghost hunters and curious visitors. The UK's haunted history lives not only in cities, but also in its eerie little towns. Now we will visit the most haunted towns in the UK. Number 1. Tiverton, Devon. Tiverton is a quiet market town in Devon, but behind its peaceful appearance lies a dark and chilling past. It's one of the most haunted towns in the UK, filled with terrifying ghost stories, haunted buildings, and mysterious happenings that have scared both locals and visitors for centuries. One of the most haunted places in Tiverton is Tiverton Castle. Built in the 12th century, it has seen battles, executions, and death. People have reported hearing footsteps in empty rooms, doors slamming by themselves, and the chilling sound of a woman crying. Some believe it's the ghost of a lady who died waiting for her lover, who never returned from war. Others claim to see the spirit of a headless soldier wandering the castle grounds at night. Another frightening location is St. Peter's Church. This ancient church has a history of ghost sightings, including a shadowy figure that walks down the aisle during quiet evenings. Locals say it's the ghost of a priest who was murdered in the church hundreds of years ago. Visitors often report feeling watched or touched by unseen hands. But one of the scariest stories comes from the Tiverton Hotel, where many guests have experienced strange events. Lights flicker, objects move on their own, and cold spots appear suddenly in warm rooms. One guest claimed she woke up to see a pale woman in old-fashioned clothes standing at the foot of her bed, only to vanish a moment later. Staff have also reported hearing whispers and footsteps in empty corridors. In Angel Hill, people talk about the ghost of a young girl who was said to be pushed into a well and drowned. Her ghost is often seen standing near the spot, crying and pointing to the water. Some even say they've heard her voice asking for help. Tiverton Museum also holds dark energy. Items from the past seem to carry spirits with them. People feel sudden chills and hear strange noises when walking through the exhibits alone. Some say the spirits are tied to old tools, clothes, and war relics stored there. With so many ghostly tales, it's no wonder Tiverton is feared and loved by ghost hunters. Behind every stone wall and down every narrow alleyway, a chilling story waits to be discovered. Would you dare to visit after dark? Number 2. Glastonbury, Somerset. Glastonbury, Somerset is famous for its legends of King Arthur, its ancient abbey, and spiritual energy, but it's also one of the most haunted towns in the UK. Beneath its peaceful surface lies a chilling world of ghostly monks, mysterious lights, and ancient spirits that have frightened people for centuries. This small town is packed with haunted stories that are as terrifying as they are fascinating. The most haunted place in Glastonbury is Glastonbury Abbey. Once a grand and powerful monastery, it was destroyed during the reign of Henry VIII. Visitors and staff often report seeing the ghostly figure of a monk walking silently among the ruins. He appears at dusk and vanishes into the walls. Some say it's the spirit of a monk who was killed during the dissolution of the monasteries. Others have heard chanting, bells, and footsteps echoing through the empty stone corridors when no one else is there. Another terrifying place is the George and Pilgrims Hotel, one of the oldest buildings in town. It was once a stop for pilgrims visiting the abbey. Guests have reported seeing ghostly monks roaming the halls and disappearing through doors. Some have heard footsteps, doors opening by themselves, and cold spots in their rooms. One story tells of a woman waking in the night to see a hooded figure standing over her bed, staring silently before fading into the shadows. Chalice Well Gardens is a peaceful place by day, but by night, strange things are said to happen. This ancient well is believed to have healing powers, but some believe it's also a gateway to the spirit world. Visitors report seeing strange lights dancing around the well and hearing whispers in the trees. A few have even claimed to see ghostly figures near the water, especially around full moon nights. Glastonbury Tor, the famous hill topped with the ruins of St. Michael's Tower, is also a hotspot for supernatural activity. It's said to be the entrance to the land of the dead in Celtic mythology. Hikers have reported seeing shadowy figures at the top of the hill and hearing strange voices in the wind. Some believe they felt pulled toward the edge by an unseen force. With its mix of ancient legends and modern ghost stories, Glastonbury is a place where the veil between the living and the dead feels thin. Would you brave its haunted paths after dark? Number 3. St. Andrews, Fife. St. Andrews in Fife, Scotland, is known worldwide as the home of golf and for its beautiful university, but beneath its charming surface lies a darker, more terrifying reputation. St. Andrews is also one of the most haunted towns in the UK. With its ancient ruins, dark history, and chilling legends, this seaside town is filled with ghost stories that continue to haunt locals and visitors alike. The most famous haunted site in the town is the St. Andrews Cathedral ruins. Once Scotland's largest cathedral, it now lies in eerie silence. Visitors report feeling watched, hearing whispers, and seeing ghostly figures among the crumbling stones. The most terrifying spirit is the White Lady, said to be the ghost of a woman buried alive within the cathedral walls. She's often seen gliding silently through the graveyard, wearing a flowing white dress with a blank, pale face. Some say she appears just before something tragic happens. Just nearby is the St. Andrews Castle, perched on the edge of the sea. It's one of the town's darkest places, with a bloody history of torture and executions. Deep beneath the castle lies a tunnel where many people have heard screams and moans. The ghost of the cardinal, believed to be Cardinal David Beaton, who was murdered and hung from the castle walls, is said to haunt the area. His ghost has been spotted staring down from windows and walking the grounds at night. The University of St. Andrews, one of the oldest in the world, also holds secrets. Several university buildings are believed to be haunted, especially St. Salvator's Hall. Students have reported footsteps on empty staircases, doors slamming, and even ghostly figures watching them from dark corners. One famous ghost is the Grey Lady, thought to be a student who died tragically and now roams the halls in search of peace. Along the coast, the West Sands Beach, beautiful by day, has a darker side at night. Locals whisper of ghostly soldiers marching across the sand, forever trapped in time from old battles fought nearby. In every part of St. Andrews, the past clings tightly to the present. With every ruined wall and dark corridor, there seems to be a spirit waiting in the shadows. St. Andrews may be full of history, but it's also full of ghosts. Would you dare explore it after the sun goes down? Number 4. Painswick, Gloucestershire. Painswick, a small and charming town in Gloucestershire, is often called the Queen of the Cotswolds for its beauty, but beneath its pretty face lies a dark and haunted heart. With narrow, winding streets, ancient stone buildings, and centuries of eerie tales, Painswick is one of the most haunted towns in the UK. Ghost sightings, strange noises, and chilling legends are part of everyday life here, making it a place where the past refuses to rest. The most haunted place in Painswick is the St. Mary's Church and its famous yew trees. The churchyard is lined with 99 ancient yew trees, and legend says if 100th is ever planted, it will not survive. Some claim ghostly hands rip it from the ground by morning. The church itself is said to be haunted by a headless woman in a gray cloak, seen gliding among the tombstones at night. Visitors have also heard faint whispers and footsteps on the gravel when no one is around. Inside the church, shadows move across the walls, candles flicker without wind, and the organ is said to play by itself. Some believe the spirit of a former vicar, who died mysteriously in the pulpit, still lingers during evening services. Another haunted spot is the Painswick Rococo Garden. Beautiful by day, it becomes eerie after dark. People have seen the ghost of a young maid who was said to have died in the garden's pond. She is often spotted standing at the water's edge, crying, her dress soaked and torn. Others claim to have heard the sound of a splash when no one is near the water. Old Painswick houses also tell ghost stories. Many cottages date back hundreds of years and are home to uninvited guests. cold spots, slamming doors, and unexplained knocking sounds are commonly reported. One house, known locally as the Weeping House, is believed to be haunted by a woman who lost all her children to illness. Neighbors say her cries still echo through the night. With its ancient graveyards, ghostly legends, and a thick feeling of being watched, Painswick offers more than just beauty. It's a gateway into the spirit world. In this quiet Cotswolds town, the dead never really rest. Would you walk its silent streets at midnight? Number 5. Levenum, Suffolk. Levenum, Suffolk is one of England's best preserved medieval villages, known for its crooked timber-framed houses and rich history. But behind its fairy tale appearance hides a chilling reality. It's also one of the most haunted towns in the UK. With over 300 listed buildings and centuries of ghostly tales, Lavenham is a place where the past walks hand in hand with the present. One of the most haunted locations in Lavenham is the Swan Hotel, a 15th century inn with a long and eerie history. Guests have reported ghostly sightings of a man in a tall hat, believed to be a former landlord who died suddenly. Others say they've seen a pale woman in old-fashioned clothes staring out of windows before vanishing into thin air. Strange knocking sounds, cold spots, and sudden chills are common, especially in room 15, which many believe is cursed. St. Peter and St. Paul's Church, a towering and beautiful structure, also holds dark secrets. Visitors have heard unexplained footsteps echoing through the aisles and have seen shadowy figures slipping between the pews. One legend speaks of a ghostly monk who appears at dusk, silently praying before vanishing near the altar. The graveyard, too, is said to be haunted by the ghost of a crying child, seen wandering between the headstones on stormy nights. Lavenham's winding streets are full of ancient homes with their own haunted histories. Locals often speak of the Crooked House, where a woman in white has been seen floating up the staircase, and objects reportedly move on their own. Some believe she was a maid who died after falling from the attic window. The smell of old perfume sometimes fills the air just before she appears. The town's past as a wealthy wool trading center during medieval times also adds to its haunted reputation. Many believe the restless spirits of former merchants still walk the streets, protecting their lost fortunes. People have heard horses' hoofs echoing on the cobblestones long after midnight, yet no carriage can be seen. Even the air in Lavenham feels heavy with history. With its crooked buildings, ancient church, and chilling encounters, this Suffolk village is more than just a historical gem. It's a ghost hunter's dream. If you ever find yourself in Lavenham after dark, don't be surprised if something from the past decides to follow you home. Number 6. Eyemouth, Scottish borders. Eyemouth, a small fishing town on the rugged Scottish borders coast, may look peaceful and charming, but it hides a dark and tragic past that has given rise to some of the most terrifying ghost stories in the UK. With its violent storms, lost ships, and deep ties to the sea, Eyemouth is considered one of the most haunted towns in the country. The most chilling tale comes from the Eyemouth disaster of 1881, when a violent storm claimed the lives of nearly 190 fishermen. The town was devastated, and many families were torn apart in a single day. Ever since, people have reported seeing ghostly fishermen walking the harbor at night, dripping with seawater, and staring blankly out to sea. Locals claim to hear the sound of boat bells and men's voices calling out during storms, when no boats are out. The spirits of those lost at sea are said to return to the shore, forever searching for their homes. The Gunscreen House, once a grand home and later used by smugglers, is also a hotspot for paranormal activity. Strange lights flicker in the windows, footsteps echo through empty halls, and a cold, heavy presence is often felt in the basement, where smuggled goods were once hidden. Some believe the spirit of a former smuggler still roams the house, guarding his hidden treasure with anger and jealousy. Eyemouth Parish Churchyard is another eerie location. Visitors have reported seeing shadowy figures moving among the gravestones and feeling a sudden drop in temperature. One legend tells of a ghostly widow dressed in black, seen kneeling by an unmarked grave, weeping quietly before vanishing into thin air. The sea cliffs near Eyemouth are said to be haunted by the Lady of the Rocks, a pale, wind-blown spirit who appears on stormy nights. Some say she's the ghost of a woman who threw herself into the sea after her husband died in the 1881 disaster. Fishermen claim to see her just before the weather turns bad, as if she comes to warn them of danger. With its tragic past, haunted houses, and spirits of the sea, Eyemouth is a town where the living and the dead seem to exist side by side. In Eyemouth, the wind doesn't just howl, it whispers stories from beyond the grave. Would you dare to listen? Number 7. Lewes, East Sussex. Lewes, the historic county town of East Sussex, is known for its cobbled streets, medieval architecture, and fiery bonfire night celebrations, but it also carries a reputation as one of the most haunted towns in the UK. Beneath its beauty lies centuries of dark history, ghostly legends, and terrifying tales that continue to chill the bones of locals and visitors alike. One of the town's most infamous hauntings is tied to the Lewes martyrs, 17 Protestant men and women burned at the stake during the Marian persecutions in the 1550s. Their spirits are said to still linger near the Lewes Priory ruins, where eerie cries, flickering lights, and ghostly figures have been reported. Locals speak of a chilling presence felt at the site, especially on cold November nights, coincidentally around the time of their deaths. Some say the smell of smoke lingers in the air, even when no fire can be seen. The Anne of Cleves house, a Tudor-era home once given to Henry VIII's fourth wife, is another hotspot for paranormal activity. Guests and staff have reported doors slamming, the sounds of footsteps on wooden floors, and a woman's voice whispering their names. One terrifying account describes a visitor seeing a ghostly figure of a lady in old-fashioned dress staring through a mirror before vanishing. Lewes Castle, perched high above the town, has its own haunted history. People have reported seeing the apparition of a medieval knight wandering the battlements. Some say he was a soldier killed in the Battle of Lewes in 1264, and his spirit still patrols the castle, sword in hand. Visitors often speak of cold spots, sudden dizziness, and strange shadows that seem to follow them through the ruins. One of the creepiest stories comes from Keir Street, one of the oldest streets in town. Locals whisper about a headless coachman who drives a ghostly carriage through the narrow lane at night. The sound of hooves can be heard, even when the street is empty. Even Lewes's pubs are haunted. At the 15th century bookshop, books are said to fly off shelves, and a mischievous spirit moves objects around after dark. With haunted churches, ancient battlefields, and restless spirits around every corner, Lewes is a town where history never sleeps, and neither do the ghosts. Would you walk its streets alone after midnight? Number 8. Alsbury, Buckinghamshire. Alsbury, a historic market town in Buckinghamshire, is not just known for its charming buildings and beautiful countryside, it is also one of the most haunted towns in the UK. With a history that stretches back to Roman times, Alsbury is a place where dark secrets linger and the spirits of the past refuse to rest. The town's narrow streets and ancient buildings are full of ghostly tales that continue to terrify locals and visitors alike. One of the most haunted spots in Alsbury is the King's Head Hotel, a 16th century inn that has seen its share of tragedies. Guests and staff have reported strange occurrences, including sudden drops in temperature, objects moving on their own, and the unsettling feeling of being watched. Some claim to have seen the ghostly figure of a woman in a long, dark dress, believed to be the spirit of a young lady who was murdered here centuries ago. Her screams are said to echo through the empty halls, and some have even heard her sobbing from behind closed doors. Another terrifying location in Aylesbury is the Aylesbury Prison, now a defunct building but once home to many prisoners. It is said to be haunted by the spirits of those who died within its walls. People have reported hearing the sound of rattling chains, footsteps in the empty halls, and the eerie whispers of long-gone prisoners. One of the most terrifying tales involves a mysterious figure in a prison guard uniform seen walking the corridors, only to vanish when approached. The St. Mary's Church, with its towering spire, is also home to many ghost stories. Locals talk of hearing unexplainable footsteps echoing through the church during the night, even though no one is there. One particular ghost, known as the Grey Lady, has been seen floating near the altar. Some believe she was a woman who died in the church centuries ago, and her spirit still lingers, mourning her untimely death. The parish church of St. John the Baptist, another old and haunting building, is said to be haunted by a former vicar. The vicar is believed to be trapped in the church, endlessly walking the aisles, searching for peace. Visitors have reported hearing strange murmurs and whispers from unseen voices when alone in the church, making it one of Aylesbury's most eerie locations. Aylesbury's history, from its medieval past to its more recent tragedies, makes it a town filled with restless spirits and chilling encounters. In every corner of Aylesbury, the past seems to return in the form of hauntings, offering a glimpse into the town's darkest secrets. Would you be brave enough to spend a night here, knowing the ghosts might be watching? Number 9. Thirsk, North Yorkshire. Thirsk, a historic market town in North Yorkshire, may appear calm and picturesque with its cobbled streets and quaint buildings, but beneath the surface lies a dark history filled with ghostly legends. Known for its connection to the famous Bet James Harriet and its medieval past, Thirsk is also one of the most haunted towns in the UK. With ancient churches, old inns, and eerie lanes, the town is a hotspot for paranormal activity, where spirits from the past still roam the streets. The most notorious haunted site in Thirsk is the Black Swan Hotel, a 16th century coaching inn. Visitors and staff have reported seeing the ghost of a young woman in a white dress, believed to be the spirit of a maid who tragically died in the hotel many years ago. She is often seen walking through the corridors and vanishing into thin air. Some claim to have heard her faint cries and felt cold spots in certain rooms. There are also stories of a ghostly man who appears in the dining room, believed to be a former guest who met a violent end in the hotel. Another haunting location is St. Mary's Church, which dates back to the 12th century. This church is said to be haunted by the spirit of a priest, who is often seen walking the grounds late at night, his footsteps echoing through the churchyard. Some visitors have claimed to feel an oppressive, suffocating presence when inside the church, and there are reports of strange lights appearing near the altar. The most chilling tale is of a headless ghost that reportedly appears near the church walls, vanishing as quickly as it is seen. Thurk Marketplace is another eerie spot where strange occurrences have been reported for centuries. People have seen ghostly figures appear suddenly in the town square, only to disappear when approached. Some believe these figures are the souls of people executed in the town's past, with many hangings taking place in the square. Locals say that at night, you can still hear the whispers of the past, the rustle of chains, and the footsteps of those who met their fate here. One of the most terrifying stories from Thirsk comes from the Thirsk Museum, which occupies an old building once used as a workhouse. Staff and visitors have reported hearing the sound of children crying at night, and some have seen shadowy figures lurking in the dark corners of the museum. A particularly terrifying tale involves a ghostly figure of a man in a dark cloak who has been seen wandering the museum, believed to be a former workhouse overseer. Thirsk's haunted history and eerie atmosphere make it a town where the past is never truly gone. With every creaky floorboard and every shadowy corner, the spirits of Thirsk's past continue to make their presence known. Would you be brave enough to explore this haunted town after dark?